Welcome back. So, as we mentioned, we are talking about this important visit, the official visit of South Korean President Moon in Egypt. And we all know that this visit is very, very important, and it is considered as the first visit in 6 years to have a visit by South Korean president. So we have different impacts on different levels of this visit. We are going to discuss it with our guest for today, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
So first of all, I would like to shed the light on the importance and the significance of this visit.
Actually, this is a very important visit since nowadays, Asia is playing a significant role in the world economy, and South Korea specifically is a very important country in Asia. After China and Japan, South Korea has succeeded to develop its economy significantly. Starting from 1950, it has a miracle which can be considered as economic miracle. Nowadays, South Korea can be considered as a developed country, actually. And from here it comes the importance of enhancing our relations with South Korea. And President El-Sisi has done a visit to South Korea in 2016, and in this visit, we started to have an agreement of partnership in which we are going to enhance our economic relations, trade and mutual investment, and so on. So, what we are aiming from this visit is to revise, the impact for these 5 years, to how extent we have succeeded as both countries to achieve the results required from, this agreement, and how to activate our relations, taking into consideration that the world economy is witnessing severe challenges nowadays after COVID-19. Actually, we haven't finished COVID-19, so we are expecting to have the repercussions of COVID-19 for this year and a year coming, as expected. So in this challenges, we need to enhance our economic relations, specifically with South Korea. A lot of, potentialities for this relation, starting from trade. Nowadays, we for the last year witnessed a sharp increase in our trade exchange between the two countries. We are expecting in this visit to sign several agreements regarding renewable energy, specifically nowadays Egypt is planning to have electric car and different vehicles, like buses and so, to be electric, and we need technology. So one of the major, goal is to, have this agreement of transfer of technology and sharing, as a win-win situation, to develop the production and to localize the production of electric cars. Nashwa, that for South Korea and for Asian countries specifically, we can, you can mention that Egypt is playing a significant role since it is a core country in the Middle East and Africa. And from here it comes the importance that developing investments, South Korean investment, to be attracted to come here. It's quite important. Why? Because there is a guarantee that they can tap the African countries as well as Arab countries. So there is a good potentialities on a basis of win-win to attract South Korean investment into Egypt. And we already have large companies, I don't want to mention the names, but you know that they succeeded not only to transfer technology, but nowadays they are playing significant role in the export of electronics in Egypt. So this is quite important to see to how extent that this is a constructive, you know, relation that it's based on win-win situation. So this is by how to attract foreign direct investment. We need to discuss, you know, first of all, what are the potentialities of investment? Because Egypt, after the mega project, full of opportunities of investment. Nowadays, it's not only in renewable energy, but in food industries, in pharmaceuticals. Nowadays, Egypt paving the way to you manufacture, you know, the raw materials to be used in pharmaceuticals. And nowadays, Egypt is having its vaccination to tap the African countries. So there are huge potentialities for pharmaceutical industries, electronic industries, to have a mutual benefit and partnership in investment. And when you have investment, this is increasing trade. You know, there is a quite important relationship between investment and trade. And this has been proved all over the world. So we are looking forward to have such agreement regarding investment. And we need to discuss, frankly, what are the obstacles confronting South Korean businessmen and women in Egypt, and how to address such obstacles. And I believe that this is a good opportunity to do that properly, and to discuss what are the potential investments that can be done from South Korean investors. There is a potentiality also to sign a free trade area between Egypt and South Korea. And this could be a very important decision to be taken. This agreement could play a significant role, not only to enhance trade relations, but to enhance investment relations.
Right. Just allow us to move on to a quick break, then we'll be back. Welcome back. And we always say that when presidents exchange visits, this is a green light for more investments to come to the country. So whether we are talking about the recent visit of President El-Sisi, or talking about the president of South Korea visiting Egypt, so definitely this is a green light also for more Korean investments to come to Egypt. And when we were talking also about training and efficiency, we really talking, for example, in electronics, the know-how, many opportunities we can take it, or just to work
yes, there
on.
is already existing a very important cooperation between Egypt and South Korea by a multinational, you know, producing in Bani Suef. And as you mentioned, Nashwat, that nowadays the South Koreans are trying to establish technical schools in cooperation with Bani Suef University. From here it comes the importance that you cannot perform in electronic industries without upgrading skills and building human resources. And it is quite important in areas such Bani Suef. This actually coincides quite well with a Decent Life project, you know, that we are aiming to change the quality of life for Egyptians. And South Korea is having a very good experience with the symbol growth with equity, or shared growth, which means that a very successful experience of South Korea, that South Korea, with this economic miracle, they succeeded to reduce poverty rate and to improve the quality of life for people. And this is a very good experience. Why? By and how? By shared growth. What's the meaning of shared growth? It means opening opportunities and building capabilities for the majority of population to have an opportunity of job, and to perform well so that they can receive high wages. And this is actually what they are doing here in Bani Suef, because since they are introducing a very high intensive technological projects, such the company performing in Bani Suef in electronics, and they are developing nowadays, building human resources so that to provide skilled labor for such industry. I believe that electronic industries in Egypt is needing transfer of technology, specifically in semiconductors and microchips. And we witnessed in COVID-19 that there is a disruption in such product all over the world. So Egypt can be regarded as a very important, location for performing and for manufacturing semiconductor and microchips, since you cannot produce anything without as manufactured product like car industry, like electronic computers. All these are in deep need for microchips, and from here it comes the importance that Egypt is as a location and as human resources, and as after having such a mega project regarding electricity, transportation, developing our ports, what we are doing nowadays in digitalization, the economy. So I believe that Egypt can be considered as very important location to perform such type of industry. This is a good potentiality as well as in the field of renewable energy. Nowadays, there are several, potentialities also to develop our relations with South Korea regarding transfer of technology and manufacturing in Egypt. And I believe that the Suez Canal, economic zone in Suez Canal can be a very good opportunity for the South Koreans to come and to have a complex of industries there, and to benefit from all, the incentives that are provided in such areas. Besides, there is a potentiality in tourism, to attract South Koreans tourism to Egypt. It could be very good, potentiality as tourism. Besides, there is a tendency, or the South Korean, they are going to offer a soft loan for Egypt to be used in electric cars and in transportation, specifically in railway station, to develop the performance of railway electronically. So, they know quite well what you need. And this is proving that, the agreement of 2016 is working to some extent. We need to revise, the performance, because for Egypt, actually, we have to admit that our institutional, capacity is not actually efficient enough to maximize the benefit of such agreement. We need to activate and to enhance our ministerial and institutions to improve their capacity, and to develop a monitoring and evaluation system so that we can evaluate. It's not just by referring to presidents of the two countries, but we have to develop a committee or institutional body to revise these agreements, to how extent we are moving forward, to how extent there are obstacles, how to address such obstacles. I believe this is quite important for Egypt, for both countries, because we are in a period in which we have to work hard and to benefit and to invest on what has been done in Egypt for the past years, starting from economic reform in 2016.
Right. South Korean President Moon Jae-in talked before about how Egypt is important as a gate to the region and, of course, Africa in general. And I remember we talked a lot, and still we are talking about how important it is when it comes to the feeding industry and the minute details of this industry. And as you mentioned, for example, talking about electronics and vehicles, these are the two major industries that have a lot of opportunities and chances when it comes to the small industries and the feeding industry in particular. So how can we work on this and take benefit, just as you mentioned, of course, training and efficiency, but to start?
Actually, we have in Egypt, I think you remember, Nashwa, when President El-Sisi inaugurated made some project in Upper Egypt. And we have noticed that a lot of projects nowadays taking place in Upper Egypt as a place, and by talking that to how extent South Korea selected Upper Egypt to have its projects. This is a very important signal that is proving to how extent we shouldn't concentrate all our economic activities as we used to do in the main cities. We have to diffuse our project into every part of Egypt, and this is what's happening in Haya Karima, and starting from what's happening in Upper Egypt, in the New Valley, in Sinai, in economic zones, in the Suez Canal. Another part that we need the South Koreans, Nashwa, is Egypt used to be doing quite well, starting from Alexandria, building ships in Alexandria. This was a very important industry that nowadays South Korea is one of the leading countries in such industry. So I believe that part of our discussions with the delegate coming with President of South Korea is to discuss to how extent how we can reshape such industry in cooperation with the South Koreans, specifically in the area of Suez Canal, to benefit from from the transferring of technology from one part, and from another part to benefit from the experience of Egypt in this field. So a lot of issues that can be discussed and for mutual benefit between the two countries. As I heard, there is another agreement that the South Koreans nowadays are talking about providing technical support for El Daba nuclear station that the Russians are going to perform in El Daba. The South Korean, nowadays they are going to provide their experience towards helping Egypt with Russia to have this nuclear station in El Daba. So a lot can be done, but what I believe that we need to do is how to revise, how to make a schedule, a time schedule for activating such agreement, and it should be reflected on the quality of life, for opportunities of job, for the manufacture sector in Egypt nowadays. We have, despite that we are talking about increasing the export of Egypt, but still the manufacturing sector is still not playing a significant role as engine of growth for the economy. Nashwa, that the industrial sector is the participation of the industrial sector in Egypt in generating GDP is only 16 to 17%. The rate of growth for the industrial sector is only 4%. And this is very, very low rate of growth compared to the potentialities of our industrial sector. If we enhance the local content of the industrial sector, feeding industries, export growth strategy in order to enhance or to use our resources efficiently. So I believe that this rate of growth should increase into 10 and 15%. And this will have its impact on enhancing the economic growth, because still, if we talk about the prospect for the Egyptian rate of growth, which is 5.5, it is actually driven by gas, petrol, still communication, not the industrial sector. So if we activate the industrial sector, and the South Korean can help us to a large extent to do that, this will have a very important impact on, economic growth in Egypt.
Right, Dr. Youmn Hamaki, Professor of Economics at Shams University, always a pleasure having you with us on the program. Right, and moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back.